listening to Central Hip Hop Hour with Gabe Schall and Nate Havrilla. Starting now. All right, it's Triple H Hip Hop Hour on the beat where we talk all things hip hop. I'm Gabe Schall.
And I'm Nate Havrilla. Today, we're talking about the hip hop highlights of 2024. We're going to start with Kendrick and Drake, then move into our favorite tracks and favorite albums of the year. If you enjoy the show, make sure to hit up WMHW on Instagram to give us feedback and suggestions for future episodes.
All right, so just jumping into it, we're going to get into Kendrick versus Drake, probably the biggest moment in hip-hop in a long time, honestly, not just 2024.
Agreed. I think this is probably the biggest hip-hop beef of all time. I mean, you can throw Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. up there, but the star power of this one, I mean, Drake is one of, if not the biggest artist of our generation against Kendrick, who's also, I would say, I mean, in my personal opinion, he's the best rapper of all time.
Absolutely, yeah.
So the best rapper against the highest seller, I mean, that's something you tell your kids about.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a matchup that was sort of prophesized about for quite a while. Like, I would just see on Twitter, imagine what would happen if this beef occurred. It would be just such a massive moment in pop culture. But honestly, I didn't expect it to get as big as it was. I didn't expect my friends who don't even listen to hip hop, like my girlfriend, telling me about what's going on. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm surprised that you know, though. And then it went all the way to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
It was just insane moment.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, a lot of my friends, they don't even like music like that. And I still remember, I have one memory specifically of listening to Meet the Grams with all of them, and all of us just sitting there in silence because we were just so shocked. So it was so crazy to just see the level that this beef got to, and even seeing it still commonly brought up even after it was well over. People would still talking in Drake's comments and saying oh, you lost the beef, stop. And it really, I think it made me look especially at Drake in a different light. So
absolutely, yeah. I think as we go track by track, we'll sort of see how this beef revealed the strengths in Kendrick and the flaws in Drake, and how when you're actually matching them up in a direct competition, they just don't really compare. They're very different people.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's just start going track by track. The first track that sort of officially spurred off this beef was First Person Shooter by Drake and J. Cole. And it's kind of up in the air whether or not this was a diss. I think some people consider it a diss. On one hand, you have J. Cole saying that there's a big three, and it's J. Cole, Drake, and Kendrick. But Kendrick took that as a diss because he was like, y'all are not on the same level as me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also people that say, the way that Drake was talking about Kendrick in that song was kind of like a sneak diss perspective. I don't know if you agree with that, but
I can't say I do. I mean, personally, if someone was talking about me and they're like, oh, we're the three goats, he's the goat too, I'd take that as, oh yeah, they're showing love to me. I'm clearly one of the best and everyone considers me to be like that. So personally, I think the whole beef, I know it was a long time coming and there had been issues, Kendrick had mentioned it before. I even saw on All the Stars, apparently, there was a little bit of a diss.
When you go back and listen to a lot of his old songs, even something like The Hillbillies with Baby Keem, you'll listen to the lyrics with the new context, and it feels like he's talking about Drake. Or at least people like Drake, having the same mentality about fake people who are posers trying to pretend to be cooler than they are. And a lot of it feels like it could fit into this whole beef. But yeah, so we had First Person Shooter, definitely not a direct diss track like we saw in the later tracks, but it is what spurred off the moment. And then we get into another collab song, completely unexpected, with Like That on Metro Boomin and Future's collab album, We Don't Trust You. Like I said, it was a completely unexpected moment. I was sitting with my friends. I don't know why we decided to listen to this album together. None of us are even like huge Future fans, but we were just like, hey, why not? You know, it's two of the biggest names in hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a little listening party. And like, I remember the moment when Kendrick came on, like everyone's just eyes like lit up because it's like he hadn't been around for a while.
Yeah.
He doesn't drop music super frequently.
No.
He's kind of a recluse in the industry. And then he comes on this song dissing Drake. Like,
Yeah, it was crazy. I think my biggest hot take about that song is I actually like Future on it way more than Kendrick.
really?
I think Kendrick almost like completely threw off the vibe of the song. I just think I love that song personally. Like the beat is one of the best beats probably of the year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Metro did his thing on it for sure, and I thought Future fit really well. I don't think Kendrick fit really well on it, but he was so great. He's still like it's still a great song regardless. But yeah, that diss it was. First listen, I didn't even realize like what was being said.
Oh yeah.
And but once I really like obviously once you really listened, he did his thing on that and really showed that he was the best out of the two. So
yeah. I was sort of just like living in the shock of that moment. Like whenever I listen to songs, I'm not really good at processing the lyrics the first time or even the second time. But like I got on Twitter and everyone was like, "Yo, Kendrick is dissing Drake like directly." And then I look at the lyrics, and he's making a lot of like subliminal references to Drake, and there's the line, "There is no big three, it's just big me," and that was like the thing that really signifies it as a direct response to first person shooter. Which track are you taking over these two?
I mean, I feel like I would take Like That.
Yeah.
I think even I've listened to Like That way more than I've listened to First Person Shooter, and obviously there's a real diss on Like That, and First Person Shooter is more of a love. So
yeah, and I think especially looking back now with the context of everything, First Person Shooter has aged so horribly, especially because we've established that the big three has a very big disparity in who's able to pull off this competitive rap aspect of hip hop, and also just like stuff like Big as the Super Bowl hasn't aged very well.
No.
And I just think Like That is such a fun song to revisit. When that came out, like I was listening to it nonstop, especially in the gym. It's just I think that song's really gonna stand the test of time. But moving on to the next round, after Like That, we got Push-Ups from Drake, which is a direct response to Like That. And what do you think of this track?
I thought Drake actually did a really good job with Push-Ups. Coming into it, I was actually a huge Drake fan coming into it. I had actually done a presentation in my communications class about why I thought Drake was the GOAT this year.
That's crazy.
I guess it was last year, but before the beef. So I was a huge Drake fan, and I was really looking forward to his response. And when he dropped Push-Ups, I was like, okay, like this is he did a good job for what I was expecting him to do. I was like, okay, this is a good response. He dissed everyone on it, and I respected that. I still respect that. I mean, the iconic Metro, shut up, just make some drums. Like,
shut up and make some drums.
I thought that's still a really funny line, and it worked. It worked. So I thought he did a really good job on this. It just sucked he was up against Kendrick.
Yeah, I think the strengths that Drake showed in this round of the beef was his ability to make like really funny like one-liners and just like poking fun at Kendrick's height and stuff like that. Like this is when it was still like very lighthearted, and just kind of fun for everyone. And yeah, I mean, I feel like it was a solid track. But then there's about like a 2 to 3 week period where Kendrick didn't say anything, and no one knew what was coming.
No.
And it turned out that he was preparing sort of this entire arsenal of diss tracks. And the first one we got out of that was Euphoria, which I think might be my favorite out of all of these.
I agree completely. I've listened to it. I think it's the most listenable. Like, there's multiple times I've just been driving and I was just like, all right, I'll throw that on. And I can't really say I've done that with pretty much any other song besides maybe Like That. But, I mean, I listen to that beef aside. Euphoria was just a diss song, and it's a great song.
Absolutely, yeah. We have the 3-4 different beats, I believe. It started out with Kendrick taking this very like menacing sort of flow, like and lyrics. Like he sort of did this like prediction thing where he was like, "This is what you're gonna do, Drake," and this is still a fairly lighthearted moment in the beef, but he certainly got like a lot. It was a personal attack on a level that I wasn't really expecting. Like, this is where Kendrick showed his ability to really like dig into a person, especially Drake. Like, you have him mentioning his parenting skills. You have him alluding like subliminally to things that he's going to mention in later songs if Drake doesn't sort of back off. And I think that's one of the things that's made it age so well, is that Kendrick sort of had this plan and had this foresight that Drake just played into like exactly how he expected him to.
Exactly. And it was to a T. And I think it deserved the most love too. I think that it should have, if it wasn't, I believe 7 minutes, it's a long song.
Yeah.
I think it would have been the most mainstream song. He made it like a typical Kendrick song where it was just very at the start very slow, melodic, kind of like getting into it, and then once that beat switch hits, it's just like a completely different. Like, I wish that they would play that instead of Not Like Us when you're at places, because it's just it gets me hype every single time, and I think personally, I think it's the best track that came from this. So
I listened to that like thing like 5 times a day when it first came out. I think the big part of that is just I mentioned how in Push-Ups Drake has this ability to like make like catchiness and like one-liners. Kendrick came up to that game and like beat him at it.
Yes.
Which is something that a lot of people didn't expect, because Kendrick is known as like this super lyrical, super deep guy, but he showed off his ability in this beef to make like super catchy songs, super memorable lyrics that will resonate with people. Even just on the surface, like you don't have to dig into the lyrics or the flows to like bop your head to it and feel like the hateful energy that he was bringing to it. And that's another thing that I really respect about this track, was just like how into it he was. I don't think you can say that like Drake brought this much energy at any point during this beef.
No.
Like just the way Kendrick delivers his lines, like what is it, the braids, talking about just I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. Like, it's so simple, but it I think it conveyed something that people weren't really expecting, which is like genuine dislike for Drake. It's not like on a petty like influencer level type thing where it's like, oh, you didn't follow me back on Instagram or something like that, or it's not like anything that we've really seen in like pop culture beef recently. And it sort of took it to a next like personal level, which Drake followed up with Family Matters.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I've probably listened to Family Matters probably like a handful of times. To me, I know a lot of people say it was a great song and it was probably his best song of the beef. I don't think it was that great, and I mean, I think it was just completely overshadowed. I do think this was the most defining like song v song in the entire argument. I think this really separated Kendrick.
Absolutely.
I think everyone remembers the iconic moment when Family Matters dropped, and it was like, oh my gosh, no way, Drake responded. And then you checked your phone 5 minutes later and saw Kendrick drop to Meet the Grams, and you were like, oh, let me listen to this one. And it was just that like evil, menacing beat, and he was just tearing into Drake, talking to his son, talking to his mom, just pretty much being evil. It was genuine hatred. And like I said earlier, I just remember sitting there with my friends, like hands covering our faces. It was just truly it's such a crazy song, and I think it completely overshadowed Family Matters.
Mm,
Even though Family Matters probably is a solid song, and I would say more listenable than Kendrick's, because Kendrick's Meet the Grams was a lot more of like a direct diss rather than a
yeah,
song
absolutely.
that people would go back and listen to.
Yeah, I think he. This is probably like Kendrick's most genius move in the entire beef that gave him like an insane one up on Drake, was just immediately dropping Meet the Grams, and it made it impossible to talk about Family Matters without talking about Meet the Grams.
Mm-hmm.
But as a song, I think Family Matters I think it's good as a diss song. I think all the beats, all the flows were very solid. I enjoyed it a lot when I first heard it, and we also saw Drake get pretty dark with the stuff he was accusing Kendrick of.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes, I think the biggest issue with the track is not even like all the individual things that Drake did on this are good, but the problem is it's not a direct diss to Kendrick. He's addressing so many people at once, and I think this is like Drake's biggest downfall as an artist, is that he has beef with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had all these collaborators and all these friends in the beginning of his career, and then by the end of it, like he's at shows being like, I have like 3 friends left, and everyone else is fake.
Mm-hmm.
And so this really dragged him down in the beef, I think. Like the fact that he felt the need to be dissing Metro Boomin again, talking about Future, it felt like it kind of detracted from the punchiness of dissing Kendrick when Kendrick was only going at Drake.
Mm-hmm.
And Family Matters is like a 9-minute song, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a super long song, and I feel like that kind of takes it away from the beef. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like the whole point of a diss song is to have it be just that, a song. No
Yeah.
one, it's hard to listen to 9 minutes straight of Drake dissing all these people, and I think he did a good job trying to beat switch it and try to
Yeah.
like separate it a little bit. But I mean, I think that it was too long, and I think he did do a solid job. I mean, I think one of the most iconic lines that came out of the beef was Kendrick just opened his mouth. Somebody hand him a Grammy right now.
Yeah, that was one of Drake's like most well-aged
Yes.
lines, most smartest lines.
Yes.
And I wish he would have come with more clever stuff like that, like coming at Kendrick for like more legitimate things.
Mm-hmm.
I think the things that he attacked Kendrick for one, they proved to be kind of baseless.
Yeah.
But where Kendrick really succeeded was attacking Drake on like a character level.
Yes.
And I think if Drake had done that more, like there's so many things that you can call out, call Kendrick out for. No celebrity is perfect, and when you get to a level like Kendrick, where he's such a highly regarded artist with such like profound ideals that he puts in his music, you can find so many inconsistencies in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Drake had the analytical skills to look at stuff like that and pick out things about Kendrick's character and really attack him on a personal level.
Yeah.
I think he went with rumors and drama, and it did make for really good shock value. Like when I heard that song, I was like, "Wow, okay." If that's true, that's pretty crazy. Turned out a lot of it was not,
Yeah.
and that made it not age very well.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have kind of a similar thing on Meet the Grams,
Mm-hmm.
where Kendrick says Drake has a daughter that he's hiding from the world, which is a similarity to a previous diss track on Drake, where it turned out it was true. He was hiding a son.
Mm-hmm.
So Kendrick comes out and says, "You're hiding a daughter now." It's months later. We haven't seen Drake has a daughter. So a lot of people think that makes Meet the Grams not as good as it initially was.
Mm-hmm. It didn't age like, especially not like Us and Euphoria did.
Mm-hmm.
I think the shock value, I mean, it was that Family Matters versus Meet the Grams was almost shock value for shock value.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
Family Matters, it was like, oh, like your kid, you don't even care about your kids and you cheated on your wife. And Kendrick was like, oh yeah, well, you have a daughter, you're a terrible person, you're like a pedophile, you're like just tore into him, said he was a terrible like pretty much anything that Drake stood for, Kendrick said you're terrible at.
Yeah.
So Meet the Grams was just so much more of a shock, and I think people are just they want to believe Kendrick a lot more than they want to believe Drake.
Absolutely.
And
it's all about the delivery of it, like the execution. The way that Kendrick delivered this information with such a like vitriol, like again, that genuine hatred for Drake, that hatred of everything that he stood for, everything that his father stood for. It felt like Kendrick actually knew Drake as a person, and I don't think they were ever that close. And so this really like paints Kendrick as like the boogeyman of hip hop.
Yeah.
And he comes in with like this insane personal attack on Drake, where we're hearing things that we probably shouldn't have ever heard. And I think that's another thing that Kendrick did so much better is it felt like all of Drake's tracks were meant to sway the public's opinion, whereas Kendrick was speaking directly to Drake.
Yes.
And in turn, that made his disses come off so much better than Drake's.
I agree. And then we moved on to the Heart Part 6 with Drake, and I personally think this is the worst song of the beef.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
By this, it almost felt drawn out. I think I remember telling my friends like, oh, Drake responded, and they were all like, oh, okay. They didn't really care that much.
Yeah.
And by this point, a lot of people had already wrote Drake off, and when he dropped this, it was like, oh, well, we actually planted all that evidence, and you just believed us, and you fell for our trick and trying to steal his song titles and all of that. And then Kendrick comes out and he drops Not Like Us, which obviously the most iconic song of the beef, probably the biggest song of 2024, performed at the Super Bowl, and everyone sung along with it, calling Drake a pedophile and saying he likes a minor, and it was a huge song. And I think, to me, the most incredible thing about Not Like Us was a lot of people's argument against Kendrick throughout everything was, oh, well, he makes good music, but you don't play Kendrick's music when you're at the club or when you're hanging out with people, because he doesn't make hits like that. He just makes like too deep of music that it's hard to listen to other than by yourself.
Which has never even been true. I mean, we have like double platinum hits like Humble and Kendrick's catalog. But I get the argument. Like, Drake has always been more of the hit maker than Kendrick. But Kendrick just took over Drake's whole lane with Not Like Us, making a song that everyone was dancing to. Everyone was playing in the club, in their car, just out and about. It became like the song of the summer.
Yes.
And the fact that a diss song was able to become a song of the summer that everyone was listening to, a huge TikTok hit, the fact that song was in its entirety a diss on Drake and his label is just so impressive. Like, nothing that you would ever expect to happen in hip hop. And we see that time and time again with what Kendrick's doing in this diss, is just reaching new milestones, doing things that we haven't really seen before in a rap beef. So that's what Not Like Us really signifies. I think Drake lost when he released The Heart Part 6, but Not Like Us was the nail in the coffin. And yeah, the Heart Part 6, not a good track, not a good response to anything. Yeah. And it really revealed that Drake didn't have what it took to take on Kendrick.
And, I think pretty much any other artist he could have taken on and had he probably could have won any other beef with what he did in this. But you went up against Kendrick, who, like I said earlier, is the best rapper of all time, in my personal opinion. And he knows what he's doing. I mean, he's one of the smartest people probably ever in the rap game, won like a Pulitzer Prize, known for his depth of all of his work. And he's just such a great artist. So for Drake to be like, oh, yeah, this is the guy I want to beef with. I knew from the beginning. I told my friends, oh, Drake should have never responded.
Oh, yeah.
I get why he did, but he should have never responded. It's not going to go well for him. He should have done it like J. Cole and took away his diss and apologized before it even started.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this completely ruined Drake's persona, I think. A lot of people, a lot of the public just don't see him as a valid artist now. And
yeah.
I think
he's still recovering, and I don't know if he ever will. I think his confidence is absolutely down, as a rapper especially. And I don't know. I wouldn't say that Drake's career has been killed. I think it's definitely been hurt. His perception as someone who is cool to hip hop fans has absolutely been ruined.
Yes, I think that's the biggest thing.
I don't think anyone who is like an overall like genuine fan of hip hop can say that they think Drake is cool anymore. Which it's pretty damaging for a hip hop artist.
Yeah,
because so much of hip hop is the persona. But yeah, insane effects culturally of this beef. But looking positively, I mean, this is like the most exciting moment I've ever had as a hip hop fan.
Yeah,
is waking up every morning and not knowing where this beef is gonna go. And as we've seen, this has taken hip hop to back up to the mainstream. The most viewed performance in history with that Super Bowl performance with Kendrick. It's been a #1 hit. The album that he released afterwards, GNX, has been extremely successful, and we're seeing hip hop sort of come back to the forefront in a lot of people's eyes when people were saying it was kind of dead for a while. So I feel like we can thank Kendrick for that at least, and we can respect, I think, what both of them did in this beef, right?
Yeah, I think so. Drake put up a solid fight at the start, and he couldn't have done the longest, like, he couldn't have kept up the fight like Kendrick did.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Push Ups and Family Matters were both really solid diss songs, and he did a good job. But when, like, he just completely lost it on Heart Part 6, and I mean, it was already really hard to come back from Meet the Grams. I'm sure that left him scrambling, and so he just dropped as soon as he could, and it was just this terrible, terrible song. So, but I think that he is still receiving too much hate. I mean, it's hard to win a beef against a rapper like Kendrick.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
he's still one of the most iconic artists of our generations and has put out so many classic songs that, I mean, even if I consciously try to not listen to Drake, I'm still going to listen to Drake just
Absolutely,
because of how great of an artist he is.
You can never escape Drake. Like everyone who says like they hate Drake, he'll be on their top 5 Spotify Wrapped. Like he just has so many iconic songs, classic albums. I don't think he is the artist he used to be anymore. But like artists like Kanye, like if you have a solid discography, like you're gonna be respected to some degree in hip hop forever, no matter what you do. Because you'll see like even like people like Lil Wayne like having kind of a downfall in their career, and he's still respected as one of the greatest hip hop artists of all time. So nothing's ever gonna change Drake's cultural significance, but yeah, still a very significant beef. I think that's going to do it for this segment on Kendrick versus Drake. When we come back, we're going to be talking about our favorite tracks of 2024. Stay tuned. Is it the best hip-hop and R&B?
Yeah.
Like a playlist made just for you?
Yeah.
Well, then you must be listening to 101.1 The Beat, because I don't know what else you'd be listening to.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I heard him say, nothing's ever promised tomorrow today.
Welcome back to Central Hip Hop Hour, Triple H on The Beat, where we talk all things hip hop. Now we're going to be talking about our favorite tracks of the year, specifically hip hop and R&B. I think there was like we said earlier with Kendrick and Drake, this was one of the best years for hip hop. It got it really back into the mainstream, and there were many great albums, great songs, everything that you can think of that dropped this year. So limiting it to just a couple was pretty tough for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a phenomenal year for music, especially hip hop. It was difficult to pick a list of tracks, but we're gonna start with honorable mentions, things that couldn't quite scratch the top three. For me, I have "Thank God for Me," Schoolboy Q, "Black and Blue" by Vince Staples. I have "Breathe" by Yeat, "Noid" by Tyler the Creator, "Yoshinoya" by Childish Gambino, and "Nina" by 21 Savage and Travis Scott.
Okay. Those are all great songs, and I'm a huge fan of Nina, too. I actually saw 21 in concert.
Really?
Yeah, this past year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's it was I'll talk about that album later a little bit. For me, my honorable mentions, "Waiting in Vain" by Daniel Caesar. It's a cover of Bob Marley. It's a great song. "Daylight" by Lancey Foe and Tizo Touchdown. I'm actually a huge Tizo Touchdown fan. He's a bit of a controversial artist as in terms of if people like him or don't like him, but I know personally his voice is just super catchy to me.
Yeah, he has an amazing voice.
Yes.
I wasn't huge on his debut album, but I absolutely see the potential there.
Yeah.
Like every feature I've heard him on has been amazing. I think it's just a matter of him like finding the right production. But yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of my favorite tracks. And also getting into Tizo, "Darling I" by Tyler the Creator is up there for my honorable mentions. And also I really liked "Take Your Mask Off" by Tyler with Daniel Caesar.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I think those are, I mean, there's countless other songs that I could put up here somewhere and figure it out. But in terms of my research, I think that was my honorable mentions. Would you like me to start with my number 3?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a bit of a surprise. "Lil Mega Minion" by Lil Yachty. It was for the new Despicable Me that came out.
Really?
It was super catchy to me. I don't know why, but I loved it. It dropped during the summer when I was like, it was just great. I was just at home, hanging out, stress-free, and the beat is one of the best beats I've ever heard.
Really?
Yeah, it's a great song. I recommend you check it out if you haven't.
I have not.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that
Yeah,
out.
I'm a huge Lil Yachty fan. I think especially how he's progressed as an artist and his music now is amazing.
Yeah. He's album-wise, like his most recent album was "Let's Start Here," right?
Yeah.
And that was a psychedelic rock album, which completely caught everyone off guard. But he's been dropping a lot of pretty solid singles. I think he's definitely at the best point in his career he's been with artistry and rapping and everything. So
Agreed. And that's why Lil Mega Minion's my number 3.
All right, I'll have to check that out. For my number 3, I have. We mentioned how "Not Like Us" was the song of the summer, but this song was my song of the summer, and that was "Kryptonite" by Don Toliver. The intro track, right? On his most recent album, Heartstone Psycho. Album as a whole, I wasn't huge on, but this song is just filled with so much energy and like it feels like electricity as a song. Just really amazing sequencing of the beat and everything. The build up is really cool, and I just think like his writing, songwriting, and melodies on the song are super cool. It feels like he was really living up to that Travis Scott protege title in this. I wish he had done that with the rest of the album, but this song like very addictive for me. One of my favorite hip hop tracks of the year. But yeah, moving on to number 2. What do you have?
I have "Lithonia" by Childish Gambino. I loved that song. There's so many parts of that song where it's just, I wish I could just listen to it on loop. I think this album was really solid. It wasn't on my top albums of the year just because I felt like there was a lot of songs on it and a lot of them weren't as good.
It felt like almost like a 60-40, 50-50 kind of mixed bag of an album, and very all over the place sound-wise. So it's hard to give it like crazy props as an album but individual tracks like Lithonia,
Yes.
amazing.
I know, and this was probably the highest of high you can get on an album. When I heard it as the lead single, I was like, oh, this album's about to be
I thought it was going to be a
insane.
classic.
Yes, I agree. And I was a little bit disappointed. I think, like I said, it was solid, but just not up to the. I feel like Lithonia has just set such unrealistic standards because it was just such a great song.
You should not release the best song on the album as a single, which is what he did. Yeah, that is definitely one of my favorite tracks of the year. I didn't put it on my list because I wasn't sure like what to qualify it as genre-wise.
Yeah.
And I was mostly focused on hip-hop with my list, but Lithonia is definitely one of the best tracks of the year. He just pulled out like a unique like songwriting vibe that he'd never really done before, and that we don't really hear in the mainstream that often. Very unique stuff. But at number 2, I have The Heart Part 6, not by Drake, but by Kendrick. This is part of GNX, and I think a lot of people like picking a favorite song off of GNX might say something like Reincarnated, just for like the lyrical depth in that song. But as far as The Heart Part 6, like I'm a really big fan of when hip hop artists talk about their journey, how they got to where they are, the people that helped them with their career, their inspirations, anything like that. That's why I'm such a huge fan of like The College Dropout by Kanye. And that's what this song kind of reminded me of, which we haven't heard Kendrick do in a pretty long time. Not really on a major level since Section 80. So hearing him talk about it just felt like a very positive song.
Yeah.
And we don't really see a lot of that in hip hop anymore. So it was I really like this song. I love the hook on it. Very beautiful beat. Everything came together on this. But moving on to number 1.
You know, I feel like I should have looked at it from more of a hip hop lens. I feel like it's off of GNX, so it's like close, but I went Luther.
Awesome.
I know it's kind of a basic pick, but I remember when I was first listening to the Kendrick album, being shocked that it even dropped.
Yeah.
And just, I'm a huge SZA fan. She's
Who
one of
isn't?
my favorite artists. I think she is the voice of an angel. So her plus I think Kendrick was beautiful on this song.
Yeah.
I don't think he's much of a singer usually. I think his voice is a little bit questionable when it comes to singing.
But he did a good job.
He did a great job on this song. It was super catchy, and I could not stop listening to it when it dropped. And still, even though it's gone so mainstream now, I can't stop listening to it just because of how good Kendrick and SZA are on the track together. I think they did a wonderful job. I also want to do a quick shout out to Playboi Carti though.
Oh
He dropped a lot of like songs that never officially dropped.
Yeah, a lot of like Instagram tracks, which I'm not the biggest fan of when artists do that, but there was some solid stuff in there.
Yeah,
Did you have a track in mind?
I'm
a
huge Playboi Carti fan. I've always been. As weird as it sounds, he's helped me through some hard times. I think Whole Lotta Red is in my top 5 albums of all time.
Really?
Yeah, just because of what it got me through and how impactful it was for me personally.
Wow. Okay.
So I've always been a huge Carti fan, and my favorite song that he dropped was Evil Jordan.
I think I remember that one.
Yeah, it was a great song, and it would probably be my song of the year if it had actually dropped on services.
Yeah.
So just a quick shout out to him.
I think he has like so much talent and like such a good ear for like new sounds, like new directions to go in, and new and things to take from and blend together. But as like on the business side of being an artist, like it's so hard for me to get excited about anything he does, since he's so like notorious for like being dishonest about when he's going to release music. But putting all that aside, yeah, he had some good singles. I was a big fan of 2024.
Yes.
I don't even know if it had an official name, but I think it was the very first single he dropped on like Instagram and YouTube. It was called like like You're the Moon or something
Yep,
like that.
that's what it was.
I actually put that one in my local files since I liked it so much. But yeah, I don't know what he's doing. He had so much momentum and it's
So
just
much.
died
I know.
off. But
He's too old to be acting like that.
for real. Yeah, the mysterious act with artists, celebrities, it needs to end.
I agree. All right, what's your number one song of
Number one song, I don't know if you could qualify it as underground. It's definitely not as underground as you could get, but it's a song by JPEG Mafia. I don't know if you've listened to him at all.
I'm not a huge fan of his. It's more of like an alternative rap type of thing for me, and I've never been into that as much, but I've always he's always been interesting to me.
Yeah. JPEG Mafia is a very interesting figure in hip hop. Honestly, in my opinion, I think he's one of the most revolutionary producers we have in hip hop right now. He's always doing things that no one else is doing. And as a producer, he's one of my biggest inspirations. But the song I have at number one is called Ex-Military. In this song, we have like a Wu-Tang sample. And the way that he's able to blend so many different genres into one track without it feeling like just a complete like cluster of nonsense is honestly really impressive. If you haven't heard the track, which you probably haven't, I would definitely recommend checking it out. It's a very interesting experience. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to explain music in words, but just a very interesting track. One that just scratched my brain the most this year, as I'm a very production heavy music listener, so that's why this one was my favorite. But yeah, again, really, really solid music that came out this year, and we're going to build off of it even more after this little break. We're going to be talking about our favorite albums of the year to finish off the show, so stick around. For your fresh dose of hip-hop and R&B, you're listening to 101.1 The Beat.
Welcome back to Central HHH Hip Hop Hour. Now we're going to be talking about our personal favorite albums of the year. We mentioned earlier, great year for hip hop, great year for music in general. So it was tough to limit it to like just a few albums.
I'd say this. It was tough, but this was easier for me than the tracks.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
so hard because, you know, albums are like great packages, but then there's so many great songs on those packages that I had to try and decide between.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so for some honorable mentions, not as quite as many as the songs. I'd like to start it with American Dream by 21 Savage. I remember listening to it. It dropped in January of 2024, so it was one of the first albums of the year, and I really enjoyed it off of first listen. And I don't listen to it as much anymore because so much music came out, but I just wanted to give it a quick shout out just because it was such a good album to me when the year started, and I thought it genuinely had a chance in terms of album of the year. So a shout out to him, and a shout out to Lil Yachty and the Concrete Boys. They dropped a collab album called It's Us Volume 1, which there will be no Volume 2, I assume, due to the constant drama of the group.
yeah,
But I really enjoyed the album. It was another album, I believe it dropped in either March or April, and I was really into it when it first dropped. I thought it might have a chance at Album of the Year before a lot of the rest of the albums all dropped. So, but it was solid, and I listened to it a lot at one point. So those are my two honorable mentions. I don't know if you have any, but
I have 4. I have Alligator Bites Never Heal by Doechii. Not an album, it's a mixtape, but really solid. As a whole project, I wouldn't call it my favorite, but she really this album has been kind of a moment. It's getting its moment right now, which I think is really cool. She's a very, very talented rapper, and I'm extremely excited to see where she goes with an actual studio album. I also have Blue Lips by Schoolboy Q, very solid album. A lot of people's album of the year. I also have 2093 by Yeet. I know this is kind of a very polarizing album. And I think it's kind of a question of what you value in hip hop. If you're more of like a lyrical enjoyer, this might not be your favorite thing, but I'm a very production heavy person, so hearing that dystopian sound it was a crazy listen. It stuck with me a lot. And I don't know if we can call this a hip hop or R&B album. It's a little bit of both and a little bit of pop, but Atta Vista by Childish Gambino.
Yep.
I think went very swept under the rug, even when it first came out initially in 2020. And we have this re-release called Atta Vista, and it got overshadowed by Bando Stone, which came out just a few months later, I believe. But Atta Vista, I think, is one of his most underrated projects. Really great songs across the board, but
yeah, I agree. In terms of the Yeat album, I was a huge Yeat fan, probably senior year of high school. He used to be one of my top played artists all the time. I really liked his work. I believe it was Too Alive and Up to Me. Those were two of my favorite albums of those times and of my life, probably. They were just so iconic for me during that time. I wasn't as big on 2093, and I think it was just such a different angle of what Yeat can do.
It's less a lot less rapping focused. He's getting into more like hooks and stuff like that. And I thought that was a good direction, but like I said, like I didn't expect this to be such a polarizing album, but it really is. Like, people either love it or they hate it. Like old heads, they're not gonna like it, but even like diehard Yeat fans, like you said, like you don't like it that much. A lot of Yeat fans hate it. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's kind of a hard thing to hear, because like when I heard it, I was like, dang, like he's going in such a cool direction, but so many people don't like it, and I mean that's just how it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I think for me at least, I'm just not that big of a Yeat fan in general. Even when he does go back to more of his original style, I believe he did it on his most recent album.
Yeah.
I just didn't really tune in. Growth happens. He's kind of an artist that I've grown out. He used to be the MVP of my playlist, and now he's more of a bench warmer. So, but I like that pick, and I also really like Atta Vista. I think that was a super underrated album this year, and I really liked To Be Hunted. It was up there with my favorite songs of the year.
To Be Hunted, Human Sacrifice, the new title track. There were only like maybe one or two songs that I felt weren't very strong, but pretty solid album.
Yeah.
But moving on to our actual top 3 picks. At number 3, what do you have?
I have, this was really tough. I was close between my number 2 and number 3, and I think I'm actually gonna do a little. What's the word? I can't think of the word, but in football when they do a last second change, I'm gonna put GNX at 3.
Okay.
Great album. It was definitely really close to my. Like I said, this was a last second call between my 2 and my 3. It was a wonderful, wonderful album. Like I said, Luther was my favorite song of the year.
Yeah.
It had great song. Reincarnated was great. I really liked Heart Part 6. That was one of my top songs of the year. It was a great album, and you can never disrespect Kendrick's artistry. Even if this was not one of his most story-told albums that he really put his heart and soul into, it was still a great album. And I mean, a top 3 album of the year on one that you didn't seem to put as much into is still just, it shows to the artist that Kendrick is.
He just has so much talent that even when he's not trying as hard as he's done on stuff like To Pimp a Butterfly, it still just shows like how amazing he is at rapping and writing. But I'll talk about GNX a little bit later. At number 3, I have Chromacopia by Tyler.
Really?
Yeah. Do you think that's low?
I think that's low personally, but
I don't know. I think Chromacopia is an amazing album, but the stuff I have above it just resonated more with me. It felt a little bit more exciting. I had a great first listen of Chromacopia. Has some amazing standout tracks. Like I was saying, Noid was one of my favorite of the year. We also had stuff like Thought I Was Dead, Saint Chroma, Take Your Mask Off. What's the one about his dad?
Like Him.
Like Him. Like Him's probably my favorite song off of that album.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's an amazing track list, only dragged down by maybe like Judge Judy, not as good as everything else.
Yeah, I was still a fan of it, but I agree that it wasn't to the level
Yeah.
of what the rest of the album was.
And I don't know, it felt like I had a bit of a higher expectation, like concept-wise, going into the album with such like intense visual, like such an intense visual theme that he had built up around it.
Mm-hmm.
And for it to not really like build a world like Chromacopia would suggest, that kind of disappointed me a little bit. But looking just at the music, like it's amazing. It's an amazing album. Tyler will always be an incredible producer, incredible writer, incredible hook writer. Loved all the features on this. Again, this was another moment in hip hop that really brought it into the mainstream and had a lot of people who don't typically listen to hip hop tuning in. So really respect it for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I have it at my number 3.
At my number 2, you actually previously mentioned this album and said you weren't a huge fan of it. I was a huge fan of it. I saw him in concert. I thought it was a great album and had maybe like 1 or 2 misses in my opinion on it, if that. I went Hardstone Psycho.
Really?
Don Toliver.
Okay.
Me and my friends love Don Toliver. It's something that we've all been huge on. We've all seen him in concert at different times. We're all huge Don Toliver fans, so I think a big part of it has to just do with that factor. I listen to him so much and make so many memories with him in the background.
Yeah.
So I was just a huge fan, and my girlfriend loved him too. I saw the concert with her, so
Nice.
just so many different good things about him. My favorite song off the album was probably Backstreets featuring Tizo Touchdown.
Okay. Yeah,
As I
that was a
mentioned,
good one.
I'm a huge Tizo Touchdown fan, so I loved his little ad libs. I was actually quite sad that there was no official verse from him when it first dropped. I was also a huge fan of Ice Age featuring Travis Scott. I think if you listen to the album and haven't listened in a while, you need to listen to that song again.
I'll definitely check it out again. I gave it a couple tries when it first came out, and just like as a whole track list, I wasn't huge on it. It felt a little on the boring side for me. It felt like he wasn't really experimenting as much as I would have liked him to, or bringing the energy as much as I would have liked him to. But I'll definitely give it another shot. Like I said, I really like Kryptonite, really like Tore Up. Bandit was pretty good. I like Glock a lot as like a more soulful cut. So yeah, there's definitely good stuff on it. I'll have to check it out again as an entire album experience. But
yep, and he also dropped a deluxe with features from Yeet and Lil Uzi on it. So both of those songs are really solid. So yeah, I highly recommend taking another listen to it, and because I at first I didn't really like it. I remember texting my friends like, "Wow, this was disappointing. I wanted a lot better from him, especially considering his previous work had been so good."
yeah,
All the way from his debut album to his most recent album, I loved every single one. So I was disappointed at the start, but the more that I kept listening, the more I was like, "Oh, this is actually really, really good." So
yeah, I'm definitely more of a fan of Life of a Don and Lovesick a little bit more than this album, but I'll have to check it out again, give it another try. But at my number 2, I have the album that Ex-Military is on by JPEG Mafia, called I Lay My Life Down For You. Same things that I said about that song, just like such interesting production. And we had him going into kind of an introspective lyrical bag that he hadn't really done before, which was really cool. And taking like a lot of like electric guitars in his production, which was pretty unexpected, but absolutely this is my favorite produced album of the year. And as like such a production heavy listener, I value that really highly. start to finish, it was an incredibly engaging listen for me. I saw him live. He was one of the artists I saw live. I also saw Gambino last year before he got sick, so that was really cool. But yeah, I think he's a really good performer. Not writing wise, not on the same level as some other people, but still pretty good. And production is just 10 out of 10 in my opinion. But yeah, how about number one?
You can probably guess what it was. I have Chromacopia at my number one. There wasn't a miss on this album to me. Truly, I when it first dropped, I would just listen to it through over and over and over again, and I would enjoy every single song on it. I still think, like I said, there's not a single miss. I can just sit through and listen to all of it. And a lot of times I struggle with that. But with Tyler, I think he just does such a good job with his production and not making sure that his songs aren't all the exact same and repetitive to the point where it's just annoying to listen to.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that Call Me If You Get Lost is actually my personal favorite Tyler album.
That's
because
a great take.
It was just so good, and it dropped at such a perfect time.
Yeah,
where
I have that at number 2.
Yeah,
for Tyler albums.
I loved it, and I couldn't get enough of it, and I got the vinyl, and I would just listen to it, and it was one of the first albums that I could really just like listen to the whole thing and enjoy.
Yeah.
So when he dropped Chromacopia, at first I was like, oh, it's not Call Me If You Get Lost, it's not Igor, it's not Flower Boy, but
Yeah.
I think it is up there, and
Really?
it puts a good fight up with them. And Take Your Mask Off was one of my favorite songs. I thought Daniel Caesar in the back was beautiful.
Mhm.
I really liked Balloon with Doechii.
Oh yeah.
Even the
It's a great
outro,
song.
I Hope You Find Your Way Home.
Yeah.
I love that song. It's such a good way to end it, and it makes you almost like nostalgic of what you
Yeah.
just listened to. So I just loved it. I think all the features were perfect, from Tizo all the way to Schoolboy. I think he did a wonderful job with it, and I think it just edges out every other album for me personally. And I'm interested to hear what your number one is now.
Number 1, I have GNX
Okay.
by Kendrick. I'm a huge Kendrick fan, and I just think every moment on this album, I think it is the most solid track list of any album I've heard this year or last year. I think the only song that I could say is not as strong as everything else is the title track, GNX. It's kind of a weird beat, kind of an annoying beat, honestly. But everything else, like every song on this album, I think is phenomenal. I think it was just so fun to hear Kendrick go in this different like West Coast lane that he had never really done before, like building off of the hype of Not Like Us and the sound of Not Like Us, and sort of making a whole album out of that. And not something I expected. It completely dropped out of nowhere. Incredibly hype first listen, and it has stuck with me so much every time I listen to it. It's just as good as the first time. So yeah, I have GNX at 1.
And I think that with GNX and Chromacopia, I mean, they were both in both of our top 3s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to be the most common thing you find with a lot of hip-hop listeners.
Absolutely,
is those
yeah.
two are going to be in their top 3 in some way. So a shout out to Tyler and to Kendrick for putting out such great pieces of work this year. And
The West Coast is definitely on top.
Yes, definitely right now. I would say Toronto's definitely fallen off a little bit.
Yeah.
The 6, I mean, obviously you got Drake and Party Next Door. They just dropped their collab album, which was interesting.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you got Tory Lanez locked up, so not looking too good for him. Which, if he actually did drop some good singles, he's been dropping these prison tapes
from jail.
Yeah, and they've been solid. But
I haven't listened to those.
Yeah, I recommend them. I'm a big Tory Lanez fan too. Alone at Prom's one of my favorite albums ever. So
yeah, this is a good album.
But yeah, I think the West Coast really got put on the map. I mean, Mustard went.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously did crazy in the producing action of everything.
And again, as a producer, that's a really cool thing to see. Like a producer actually getting their credit for carrying half the song.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really cool moment. Again, like 2024 just really really healthy and really good for hip hop, I think.
Yeah.
I think we've had years where mainstream hip hop goes in such a stupid direction, and this was the exact opposite of that. And it was just really fun to see.
If you enjoyed this show, make sure to check up on our Instagram, WMHW, and give us feedback. Send a message. If you have any topics you want us to cover or any albums you want us to review, just make sure to send them in there, and we'll definitely check them out. I'm Nate Havrilla.
And I'm Gabe Schall. Thanks for tuning in.